Stanford University.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stanford University President John Hennessy.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my great honor to welcome His High Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, back to Stanford. We're delighted that the Office of Religious Life and our School of Medicine and the Center for Compassion and Altruism Research could help us organize this wonderful event. We have with us, in addition to the Dalai Lama, his long-term interpreter, Geshe Jimpa, who's helped put this visit together, and Dr. Jim Doty, who's head of this Center for Compassion and Altruism Research. Today, the Dalai Lama will speak on the centrality of compassion, and later this afternoon, will give the Rathburn Lecture in Memorial Church. When the Dalai Lama received the Nobel Prize 21 years ago, he said, "I'm just a simple monk." But I can tell you when I first met him 5 years ago that he's so much more than just a simple monk. I still remember that visit because it is one of the most memorable moments of my life. And when I meet with our undergraduates, they say, well, you've met world leaders, you've met presidents, you've met Nobel Prize winners, but who is the most interesting and impressive person you've met? And I say, it has to be that meeting with the Dalai Lama. Two things immediately impressed me. He is an individual who radiates joy and happiness. You feel it. The joy of living, the joy of creation just comes out when you're in his presence and he's speaking. The other thing I discovered is he has a wonderful sense of humor, and he can make people laugh without hurting or injuring anyone's feelings. And I learned when I was with him that you could do that in a way that was truly wonderful. So please join me in welcoming His High Holiness, the Dalai Lama, back to Stanford.
Sorry. Careful. Oh. Thank you. Yes, now we go. Oh, I see. Oh, finish already. Here, from here or? Hmm? Good morning, everybody. I think I want to stand there to see more faces. What on to say? Dear brothers and sisters, and particularly long-time friend, Jim. Indeed, I'm very happy once more come here and meet people, some of them long-time friend, and most of you new, I think. I always feel it is important to meet and share some of my own sort of views on the basis of my own experience, and also I think some observation. I think those compare young student, suppose I have more experience. You just begin the real life. Now I am now ready to say bye-bye. So there are some sort of, what's the useful points which I already have the experience. So you may learn some of these things, maybe some help. Then afterward, question and answer. Through that way, I also usually get some kind of, I usually say, education. The different questions. And sometimes question which I never sort of thought about it. But such sort of new questions come that very helpful to think certain new point more depth way. So that also very helpful to myself. So I'm very happy. And of course, I want to thank the concerned people who organized this opportunity. When I talk with people, from my side also, no feeling of barrier. And when you put some questions, from your side also, should not feel any sort of barrier. We are same human being. Mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. Then, no matter what appearances, but we will all have the desire to achieve happy life. And we, everyone, have a right to achieve happy life. So same, 100% same on this level. And then particularly now, today's world. In reality, I think no longer the concept of we and they. Entire now nearly 7 billion human beings should consider part of we. Because individual future depend on them. So from one's own sort of interest, you have to think whole planet, whole humanity. So that's a reality. Not like ancient time. Ancient time, the concept of we and they very strong. Because interest, something more or less, I think, independent. So according to that circumstances, the concept of war, destruction of they, victory of we. Now that concept, or that concept outdated because the new reality, now no longer that much sort of a gap or separation. So, So now, my talk theme, centrality.
Of compassion in human life and society.
Actually, you see, theme, different word or different title, but more or less, I think hundreds of my talk, more or less same subject. I think, firstly, I believe we human beings, by nature, or according to those people who believe Creator, then we human beings created as a social animal. So any social animal, in order to survival, cooperation, or sense of community is very essential. Even these tiny animals, those social animals, they have no religious faith, no constitution, no government, but they work together. Because the nature creates such, their individual survival depend on the community. So we also, social animal, so the ultimate sort of, the factor bring together is warm-heartedness. And genuine cooperation, work together with sense of responsibility to take care, common interest. So, unity, friendship is very important. Friendship from power, from money, artificial friendship. Genuine friendship on the basis of trust. Trust comes from openness, transparent, honest. Then trust comes. On the basis of trust, real friendship comes. So, since we are a social animal, so the genuine friendship or sense of sort of one community is very essential. So trust, so long one individual's deep insight, self-centered attitude, very strong self-centered attitude there, then there is always possible to cheat other, to bully other, exploit other. So long that kind of mental attitude, mental tendency there, you cannot speak truthful, honest, transparent. It is necessary, some kind of hypocrisy, smile, but some different motivation. So, on that basis, how can you develop trust? So, open-heartedness, or a genuine sense of concern of well-being of other. That's the key factor now. So, now, human being as a social animal, the fundamental sort of basis of our success, our sort of happiness, depend on that motivation, compassionate motivation. Now regarding compassion, I usually see telling people, and according to my own sort of observation, basically 3 ways, 3 methods, or 3 different ways of approach promoting these human value. Number 1, theistic religion, like Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and many other, many Hindus believe Creator. So every religion which believe Creator, when they describe Creator, the infinite love. And through that way, when you totally submit or dedicate or submit yourself to God, Creator, which is infinite love, that reduces self-centered attitude. And then every religion talking importance of love, compassion, forgiveness, these things. In spite of different philosophy, all carry same message. So that's one way promoting compassion or warm-heartedness. Then second, those non-theistic religion, like Buddhism, Jainism, mainly in these 2 religions, no concept of Creator, but law of causality. So through that way, from that viewpoint, ultimately yourself is Creator. So all our sort of today, happiness or because of the suffering, all these due to one's own action. You carry right action, action which benefit to other, helping other, bring some happiness, joyfulness on other. Result, you get a benefit. From any action which harming other, bring pains on other, the result, you will face the negative consequences. So there's a law of causality. That also one way to promote these values, because I want happiness. I do not want suffering. So I have to take seriously about the causes of these 2 experiences. So since I want happy life, I have to carry some activities which helping other, which benefit to other. Since I do not want suffering, I should not harm other. That also one way of promoting these values. Then judging the world, say out of nearly 7 billion human beings, quite a big portion, no interest about any religion, any faith. So these also human beings, and very important because part of the 6 billion human beings. If not majority, but big portion of nearly 7 billion human beings are essentially a non-believer. So you see, some people have the view, some religious sort of thinker believe any moral ethics must be based on religious faith. Of course, they have their own reasons. But if you believe that, then it becomes very narrow. So now here, mainly now according Indian tradition, India's constitution itself, based according the secularism. So sometimes some my friend, some Christians, some Muslim, when they heard the word secularism, they believe something disrespect about religion. So I don't think, according Indian sort of understanding, secularism is rather respect all religions, no preference this religion or that religion. Because India, 1,000 years, its reality is there are so many different traditions there. So you must respect all the tradition. So therefore, according that concept, secularism does not mean disrespect religion. And also, in ancient time, I think more than 2,000, nearly 3,000 years, in India, among different sort of school of thought, one school of thought, the nihilistic view. The Sanskrit word, or Hindu has a Hindi word, charvaka. So usually it's considered that is nihilism. My Indian friend is telling me last 2,000-3,000 years, many great thinkers or religious leaders argue or criticize about that view. But person who holding that view refer rishi. Rishi means sage. Sage. So that is sort of the attitude, respect, who holding that nihilism. So one my Indian friend, the former Deputy Prime Minister, once he told me one of the reasons why democratic system successful in India last now nearly 70 years, because 1,000 years there is sort of pluralism, and also the habit to respect people who have different view. And as far as that view is concerned, much sort of critical. However, respect. So secularism, now here I usually try to promote human value or compassion through secular way. That will not against any religion. But actually, I believe all the major religious traditions come from that basis. So all religion actually strengthening basic human good quality. That's basis. Basically, that's the human value. Secular values. Now here, the way promoting inner value, secular way, how? I usually three reasons or three approaches. Not approach.
3 parts, 3 components.
Or 3 components, maybe. Number one, we human beings, like some other mammals, like dogs, cats, or many birds, their survival entirely depend on others' care, particularly mother's care. So we human beings, our very life starts that way. So as soon as we're born, our first sort of deep experience and happy experience is mother take care and provide us her milk. So at that time, the child, no sort of idea who is that person, but biological factor, tremendous sort of trust. And when mother is taking care, there's a tremendous sort of feeling of joyfulness. So that's the way our life starts. And those people who received maximum affection, maximum care from our parent, particularly our mother, the whole life, their emotion, in deep insight, much stable, much happier, more secure than those people who, at early period of their childhood, lack of affection. One time in Poland, and many years ago, I think my first visit, there one sort of orphanage, they describe these children are unwanted children. So really terrible. Of course, because of foster parents are there. A foster parent, eventually, I think, can become real parent. Then, maybe different. Otherwise, it's very difficult, and particularly those child who, at an early age, you see experience of abuse, like that. I think whole their rest of life, some problems. And the physical sort of health, also some connection. So in that connection, I always was happy to mention my own case. My parent, illiterate, uneducated, just a villager, farmer, but very, very compassionate. Particularly my mother. Father sometimes quite often lose temper. But my mother, really, almost we never saw on her face some kind of negative face. We never saw. And her sort of compassionate attitude, not only towards her own children, but other children also, particularly those children of beggar. She very much sort of showing concern, love. Or sometimes I also, you see, share my own sort of stupid experience. You know, since my mother, so much love to me, as usual, very young sort of child, carrying by mother on shoulder. So then, I usually used to hold two ears of my mother. I want to go this side. At this side, go like that. If mother didn't listen, then I cry. And my leg pumping. I think I really was acting like a naughty boy, or stupid, spoiled child. So, I believe that experience, I think, really imprint in my mind deeply. So perhaps I think my own sort of amount of compassion. Of course, later, Buddhist sort of practice also, you see, immense sort of help. But the very seed of that come from my mother. Then, because emotional level, no matter how difficult it is, but in deep inside, some kind of open heart, compassionate heart. That brings inner strength, less fear. That also very important for body element. So now this is number one reason. Everybody come from our mother. All have same seed of compassion. No question. Nobody can argue that. The second, using our common sense. Whether east, west, south, north, any human group or human family where more compassionate atmosphere, affectionate sort of home, always much happier. And your neighboring families, the family where often anger dominant, or I should say jealousy dominant. No peace, no happy atmosphere. Where the family which full of affection, full of trust, full of friendship, much happier. That happiness cannot bring by money. Rich family, these basic human value lacking, not necessarily happy. Poor family, material facility poor, but these basic human values, they are much happier. So that's using our common sense. Then, third reason. Now, scientific sort of finding, latest scientific sort of finding. Constant fear, constant anger, hatred remain here, actually eating our immune system. Some scientists say that. Calm mind, compassionate mind, sometimes even increasing these positive body element. So therefore, I often used to mention one occasion, I think 10, 15 years ago, one occasion in New York area, one sort of meeting with scientists. Now that kind of meeting, now since last, I think more than 30 years, we have, you see, we're carrying using that kind of sort of discussion or dialogue. So on occasion, one doctor in his presentation, you see, he mentioned those people who often use word I, mine, me like that, there's greater chance of heart attack. He didn't explain. Then I thought, oh, it may be true, because you see the person who often you see come his or her mouth these words It's simply a reflection of their thinking. Of course, that one way, that person is a little bit quite honest. So what he or she really feels to express. But sometimes we quite clever. It's a real feeling always hiding and express, use few nice words. So you're the person who often come these words, his or her in deep feeling, I is the center. Self-centered attitude. So with that, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes I describe our inner door closed. So with that feeling, difficult to communicate with other people, other fellow human beings, which your successful life depends on them. But towards that, you feel a little distant. So that brings in deep inside sense of insecurity, sense of loneliness. That brings blood pressure increase, too much stress, too much anxiety. So heart attack come. So therefore, using these three sort of reasons, we can develop. Using the third, these three, secular way, not talking about religion, not talking about next life or heaven, simply how to be happy human being, how to be happy human family. Money alone, no. Now here, I usually, because of the, come change to me. These days, I sort of obviously, because I developed one new view. That is last, at least I think, 3,000-4,000 years. You see, or 5,000 years, we develop faith, religion. That provides hope. And when we really facing desperate situation, pray to God or pray to Buddha, like that. So that gives us some kind of basis of hope. Then, about, I think, last 2 centuries, more than 2 centuries, science developed. With that, technology developed. So many things which previously just pray, now that actually now produce, become reality with help of technology and science. So we very much excited. And now all our hope put on the science and technology. And a lot of change, positive change is developed. There's also recently one Patna, this Bihar state in India, Bihar state, it is capital Patna, Bihar state, the Bodh Gaya, located in Bihar state. So in Patna, the state government constructed huge Buddhist temple. So some ceremony, open ceremony, for ceremony, he invited me and some delegations from different Buddhist countries. I'm there. So then Chief Minister, you see, the open statement, open statement. You see, he mentioned at one point, you see, he mentioned that with Buddha's blessing, Bihar state will flourish, right? Economically, you see, flourish. Then my turn talk. I know Chief Minister very well, so I half joke, half serious. I mentioned if the development of prosperity of the poor state of Bihar due to Buddha's blessing, then I think Bihar state much earlier should develop, because Buddha's blessing always there. But till able chief minister come, development not happen. So therefore, Buddha's blessing may be there, but Buddha's blessing must go through human hand, human action. So that I believe. I think last several thousand years, we just praying, but not satisfactory result. Through technology, a lot of benefit is to come. Now, later part of 20th century, those people who have all these facilities, material facilities, now begin to feel there is a limitation about material value. I think you know much better, I think, these things. So American, you see, you have all the material facilities, isn't it? Generally speaking. Of course, America, there are poor people, a lot of poor people also there. One of the drawback is this huge gap, rich and poor. Even this richest country still there. So in any way, people begin to feel there is limitation. And among the scientists also, before they only, you see, watch or observe or investigate something, external thing. They not much pay attention about scientists themselves. So now, because of the much sort of development about brain science, neuron science, now more attention about mind, relation between mind and the brain, whether there is separate entity of mind or not. Now these gradually developing. There's academic level. Then practical level, those medical scientists now realize our emotion is so important for good health. So recently, a few occasions, our meeting they call healthy body, healthy mind. There's no point to neglect about a healthy mind. So scientists in the medical field, now they begin to see the importance of mental state for good health. So later part of the 20th century, now something changing now. Not only material sort of development, but internal development is equally important. And also in the social sort of, social scientist way. They also now found some unhealthy sort of situation in the society, particularly among the youth. Like in Japan, materially highly developed, but a lot of suicide, a lot of depression among young people. And some other countries also, some senselessly killing in classroom, these things happen. So some social scientists, they begin to feel in the society, in the family, we are lacking affection. So these children are not adequate towards the equipped towards the affection like that. And then also world peace. Now more and more people realize real peace must come through inner peace. So now question is how to develop a calm mind, inner peace. Tranquilizer? No. Drug? No. Alcohol? No. So the inner peace is a kind of mind, mental state. So inner peace must develop through mental way, through mental process. So here in this university, this institution, now also is the last few years, now carrying some more serious research work, and as well as Wisconsin University and Emory University. So these are, I think, a very good start. I think in early part of 20th century, I think nobody think these things. Now among the scientists, among the educationists, now begin to feel importance of inner science. So this is, I think, a very healthy sign. This should be. We have this body and mind. The material facility simply provide body comfort, not mental comfort. So my friend, billionaire, very rich and quite famous, but as an individual human being, very unhappy person. So they are not lacking money, not lacking good name, not lacking friend, but lack of inner sort of strength. As a result, very unhappy. So, so the theme, centrality of compassion in human life and society, now fulfilled. Thank you. So now, question. Koro, where is question? Question now. Yes.
Before we start question and answer, I just want to personally thank you for being a supporter of our work at CCARE and for being our founding benefactor. And I also want to thank you for being an inspiration to hundreds of millions of people throughout the world. CCARE uses the tools of neuroscience to understand those complex human behaviors we call compassion and altruism. In and of itself, that would be an interesting exploration. But unless we use these tools to cultivate that and potentiate those feelings within ourselves, it is my feeling that that work would not be useful otherwise. I want to tell a brief story about when I met His Holiness, which began with this exploration of my own into these examination of these feelings. We had an audience with His Holiness, and at the audience, my real intent was really simply to get him to come to Stanford and talk about the importance of the cultivation of compassion. It was during this meeting that I explained to him some of our initial explorations, and he became very excited. And in fact, I asked him, Your Holiness, what though is it what you want us to do in this type of work? And he said, the most important part of this is our children and education. And the center, with his support, is called the Center for Compassion and Altruism, Research and Education. Towards the end of the audience with His Holiness, and after I had asked him about these issues, he added, but you must measure, measure, measure. And he said, you must use rigorous science, and the work must be secular. And we have honored that wish. Near the end of our discussion, His Holiness became quite animated, and he began talking to Jinpa in Tibetan, which of course I thought maybe I had offended him. And at the end of that discussion, Jinpa said to me, His Holiness so much believes in this work that you have begun that he wants to make a personal donation. And it is from that donation which has resulted in others being inspired to support this work and for us to be here today. So I thank you again for that. I must say, though, that when I had gotten my first wish, which was that he come and talk here at Stanford, I was quite elated, and I said, wow, that wasn't that hard. And then, when His Holiness spontaneously made this donation, which ends up being one of the largest donations he's ever given to a non-Tibetan cause, I was in awe, I was humbled, and it came into my mind that who am I to take money from the Dalai Lama? But that passed very quickly. We are going to begin the question and answer session, which are questions that you have given us and which I hope will stimulate discussion by His Holiness. Scientific research on human qualities like compassion and altruism creates concern by many that science is reducing our morality and our humanity to mere chemical reactions in the brain. Could this undermine our appreciation of human values?
Perhaps I think before the answer, the particular thing, so I want to tell you my own sort of story. I think about 40 years ago, I began to feel it should be useful or interesting dialogue or discuss about with scientists. And Buddhism is mentioned particles, and also, of course, I think some of you knows, as far as geography is concerned, cosmology is concerned, and Mount Meru, or these things mentioned. Then more important, as I mentioned earlier, Buddhism, no concept of creator, but something like self-creation. When we talk about creation, they ultimately mind, emotion. So therefore, in Buddhism, comparatively, I think very rich information about mind, emotion, these things, and how to tackle these different emotions, and as well as some experience there. So I eager dialogue with modern scientists. Then some my friend, you see, respond to me, or science is killer of religion. Be dangerous, be careful. And I thought and thought. As far as Buddhism is concerned, particularly the Nalanda tradition is concerned, Buddha himself made clear, "O my follower should not follow my teaching out of devotion or faith, rather thorough investigation and experiment." This one. So that give us some kind of freedom to investigate what texts say. So historically, last more than 2,000 years, many Buddhist masters in India take this liberty to examine Buddha's own word. Those Buddha's word, Buddha's teaching, which goes contradiction with investigation, then they say they did not accept it literally. Those texts which further investigation, analyze, still solid, that point, that sound, then accept. So that is the Nalanda tradition. So therefore, science also some kind of sort of method to investigate what is the reality. The Nalanda tradition also the method to investigation about the reality. So as a result, then I start dialogue, talk with scientists. Now, as I mentioned earlier, last 30 years, more sort of discussion. It became very clear to modern science, they found useful information from Buddhist explanation about mind. And for Buddhists, the scientific finding about these, like quarks or the subatomic sort of the particles, very, very helpful. Very helpful. One casualty is concept of Mount Meru. At least for me, now no longer believe Mount Meru. That's one casualty. No problem. So therefore, this kind of sort of further research, no problem. Now here, according to what the brain specialist, the place where certain sort of what's the 동해연배 거둑, 따지다 동해연배 거둑이 즉 초원영서지다 닝지슈 잡고 깨배 거둑 초원영서 직벌에 시시했어.
At one of the meetings with scientists, one of the scientists made the observation that at the brain level, it was a neuroscientist, it seems that brain centers that become more active when you experience pain for yourself seems to be also the same centers that get activated more prominently when you feel empathy and experience someone else's pain.
So after I heard that at the conference, I respond, of course, half joke. Oh, in that case, the brain is very foolish. No ability of distinction. What the real causes? One, you see, empathy, sense of concern of others' well-being. Their mental element, tremendous sort of self-confidence, voluntarily taking care about others' sort of well-being. So there is strength. The other, pain oneself and overwhelming that feeling and some kind of helplessness. Completely discouraged. So in a mental level, big differences. But response on the brain, same area. So that means, you see the brain, no ability to distinction the real causes of mental level. Then with that, I also jokingly telling people, like tear. You see, when we very happy, overjoy, sometimes tear come. And sometimes without much sort of because of that much sort of feeling, but some kind of because of the laughing, too much laughing. Also sometimes tear come. And very painful experience. Also, you see, sadness also brings tear. So now, mental level, emotional level, big differences. But the physical response is same. So if the physical level quite sort of clever, then tear which causing by overjoys, tear must come through right eye. And the cause of tear, too much sadness, then tear must come left eye. Then brain have some ability to make distinction. So therefore, I think, maybe too early to say, but still I feel mind or consciousness is much more subtler than physical thing. Of course, the mind, there are so many sort of different level, grosser level of mind, more subtle level mind, very, very subtle level mind. Now, for example, at the time of awakening state, mental state, using the senses of organs. Then dream state, senses of organs no longer function. Active. The sixth mind, or the mental state. Then further, deep sleep without dream, even further sort of deeper mental state. Then faint, then at the time of death, the mental state, deeper like that. So those grosser level of mind, very much related with our physical process. Now, the latest scientific finding through their experiment, now they found through sheer mental training, some change, some new development in brain. Because plus level in the fixation model.
This is made more understandable, the fact that through mental processes they can affect and change at the level of brain. And this has become more acceptable. Scientists tell me that because of the discovery of the plasticity of the brain.
So these are now, as a result of more serious sort of investigation about the brain or about mind. So I feel no harm. Very important.
Your Holiness, some people feel that by being compassionate or altruistic, this can make a person actually less successful or able to survive in the real world. This seems to be a feeling that is not unusual in the West. What is your response to this type of thinking? And do you think that this also is the basis for the epidemic of depression in the West?
Two part. Now, firstly, compassion. There are two levels. One level, as I mentioned earlier, biological factor. That kind of compassion is very much mixed with attachment, very biased, very limited, and oriented towards attitude. So that kind of compassion only towards your friend or person or anyone who nice to you, that kind of compassion can develop. That compassion never extend to your enemy. Now, another level of compassion. Now, this kind of compassion, of course, common with animal, as I mentioned before. Now, another level of compassion, which I think only because of only human being can develop, because that combination with human intelligence, as I mentioned earlier, analyze through reasons. So peace of mind is so important for my own well-being. So the real destroyer of peace of mind is anger, hatred, suspicion, jealousy. The opposite counterforce, these things are compassion. So develop some kind of conviction. Compassion is really good for my own well-being. So then deliberately trying to strengthening that and try to reduce these negative sort of forces, right, or destructive sort of emotions. So now intelligence now involved there. So now the second level of compassion, not focusing others' attitude, but simply other as a sort of being, as a sentient being. Now, for example, each individual, some kind of self-cherishing, self-cherishing there. That does not mean I myself nice to me. No. I have the right to be happy. Just that reason, that factor, you see, brings self-cherishing. So similarly, other, irrespective whether their attitude towards yourself, right or wrong or negative or positive, doesn't matter. But these also, like me, by nature, want happiness, do not want suffering. So on that understanding, now not oriented others' attitude, but rather a person or being themselves. So develop sense of concern on that level. Now that compassion can extend towards your enemy. Enemy, as far as their attitude is concerned towards you, negative. So we call enemy. But as far as their human being or sentient being is concerned, same right. Since that kind of sort of compassion very much combined with wisdom, now the answer for your question, the genuine practitioner of compassion with help of wisdom, always holistic view. Now someone who take advantage on you and unjustly doing something, think, if you let their unjust doing continuously, ultimately they will suffer. Even within this lifetime, many neutral people feel, oh, he or she take advantage on such a wonderful person. So more and more people criticize them. So therefore, taking the holistic view, and in order to stop their unjust doing, out of sense of concern of their well-being for long term, countermeasure must take. So, a compassion which combined with wisdom always have broader sort of broader perspective or holistic. So here, the violence and non-violence actually very much related with motivation. Out of hatred, out of sort of, desire to cheat, using smile, using some nice word, and with some gift, looks non-violent action. But because of the motivation, want to cheat, want to harm. So that is essentially violence. A good parent or good teacher, I think like you, I think good teacher, say, share the way, purely sort of out of concern of others' well-being, children or student. Sometimes, you see, use some harsh word, some sort of disciplinary action. Looks a little bit rough, but because out of sense of concern, sort of compassionate sort of attitude, therefore, it is essentially non-violence. So now your neighbor who take advantage on you unjustly, take countermeasure, it's non-violence. Clear? So therefore, this question, I think, if may I say so, this question comes out of ignorance. What is compassion?
I didn't write these questions.
Protect yourself.
Yeah. Exactly. Another question I did not write. I know that oftentimes if I see a homeless person or a person in need, I feel that I want to do something at that moment, but I don't. What is it that makes a person who feels compassion actually act? Is it merely increasing a stronger sense of compassion that motivates action, or are there some other factors?
It is true. Like This time, say, my plane way, Namdu, I took from Bombay to Tokyo. And because this is near Bombay, one sort of big function, they invited me, so I went there. So my flight from Bombay. So I spent one night in Bombay on the street. What's the day? Also the Shantytown. Very poor people. Hundreds. And with their children. Looks as if nobody take care. Then also sometimes I saw some dogs, street dog, very poor physical condition, very weak, nobody taking care. Or last year, I think last year or 2 years ago, I saw one picture, one dog, because of economy sort of difficulties, one family abandoned dog. One picture I saw in one Indian newspaper. I looked at that dog. How usually feeding by the owner. So no need run away, running to seek something. So no such experience. So that dog's face looks very sad. Sort of nearly tear come. But nothing can be done. And something like those are the poor people in the street. If I spend my whole time serving them, that also limited. So then,
So now you have to weigh.
some other way to help fundamental level. Long run, maybe more more benefit. So sometimes when I saw these things, only pray. Nothing can be done. So I think you should be realistic. If you can do something on the spot, do it. If there is limitation, you cannot do, then think these things, then try to strengthen our own sort of compassionate sort of feeling, compassionate sort of experience. Sometimes when we saw these people or animal who really facing painful experience, it's very, very helpful to further strengthening our empathy in these things. So like that.
You have said that compassion is one of the most important human values. But how do we educate our children on how to be compassionate human beings?
Now that's very, very important. Now, recent years, see some institution and some scientists, also the educationists, now really take seriously about how to educate through education. How to bring. That's very, very important. Education system, existing education system, as I mentioned before, last around about 200 years, see, they are sort of interest because of only the external other matters. So education also is mainly related with that. The economy lessons or engineer, all these things. Even medical, just you should look human body. not showing interest about emotion or mind. Whereas I think Indian medical system and Tibetan medical system, more holistic, mind also is included. So the whole sort of as the existing our education system very much based on material values. I think about 1,000 years ago, one separate education institution started in Europe. At that time, about moral ethics is concerned, church take the responsibility, and also family as well. In modern society, influence of the church also decline, and the family value also a little bit decline. Now, education institution alone should take care of both brain development and warm-hearted development. Again here, as I mentioned earlier, I think only the possible way is secular way, not relying on religious faith. If you rely on religious faith, like India, then complication. There are so many different religious traditions, so difficult. So without touching religion, as I mentioned, 3 reasons: our common experience, common sense, and the scientific findings. Through these sort of material, using these material, we can educate our younger generation. That's key factor. Transformation of 6 billion human beings, not through prayer, but through education. That's the only way. So, I think our work, research work, now these are eventually very, very helpful resources to develop the new curriculum in education field, on secular basis, scientific basis, and introduce children the importance of warm-heartedness. And then also, I often used to telling people, 20th century becomes century of violence. According to some historian, that century, through violence, over 200 millions of people killed. Still, the beginning of this 21st century, still some problems there. These due to lack of negligence or mistake policy in 20th century. So therefore, through using force, you can't solve problem. Only through force you can control or you can eliminate body, but not mind. Changing mind only through compassion or education, not by force. So therefore, now this century, whenever we face problem, we have to find ways and means to solve that through dialogue. So I usually is telling, now 21st century should be century of dialogue. Now here, in order to carry meaningful dialogue, first, it is necessary respect the other who have different view. Consider part of we, part of humanity. My future also depends on them. So respect and listen their interest and tell them our interest and try to find mutually agreeable solution. That's the only way. Like a Palestine problem. Both sides stand firm. Then confrontation. So only way is through dialogue. So therefore, here, in order to bring century of dialogue, now 21st century, now 10 years passed, now 90 years yet to come. Now these young people, you are the people who belongs 21st century. My generation belongs 20th century, already gone. Now ready to say goodbye. So these young people, now you should think how to bring this century, more peaceful century, more compassionate century. So, peace, compassionate, does not mean no longer any problem. Problem there. So long human being there, human interactions there, different interests, different views, always there. That's the source of conflict. Right? So now we have to, that reality, how to face that reality? Through talk, through dialogue, not using weapon. So therefore, now you should develop this strong conviction. Any problem, family level, or community level, or national or international level, only sort of solution through dialogue. So for that reason also, the sense of compassion brings your will. And with wisdom, there is no other alternative, only through talk. That's the wisdom side. Then respect others' interest, genuine sense of concern of others' well-being. That's the basis. So combine these two things, genuine spirit of dialogue can develop. What do you think? Do you agree? Thank you. Oh.
We have 1 minute. Your Holiness, I would like to close with a parable that was told to me by another Nobel Prize winner, Mangari Maathai.
Yes.
So she is the founder of the Greenbelt movement in Africa, and she tells a story of a large forest fire, and all the animals flee the forest and stand on the periphery and watch the fire burn their homes. One of the animals looks up, though, and sees a hummingbird flying to the lake, getting a beak full of water and dropping it on the fire. The animal says to the hummingbird, "Why are you doing this? There is no way you are going to put out the fire." And what the hummingbird says is, "I know, but I am doing what I can do." Oftentimes when we see immeasurable suffering, we feel powerless or discouraged. But I tell you that each and every one of us has the capacity to make at least one person suffer less every day. So go forth and just do what you can do, and thank you.
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.